Testing, one, two, testing, testing, one, two.
Testing, 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 testing. One, two, three.
Don't forget to speak into your microphone.
Me.
La la la.
That's like the Little Rascals.
Okay. Welcome to the April 19th business meeting and budget adoption of the Pelham Board of Education. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge.
2.4 is the reiteration of the executive session motions.
Yes, sorry. Too many folders. The board met tonight in executive session to discuss matters leading to the appointment of a particular person.
Thank you. 2.5 is our special recognition. We have some amazing guests in the back. The wonderful Mr. Schleifer and his team of students. So I'll turn things over to Dr. Chan.
Okay. I'm going to come to the microphone real quick and invite them to join me.
Maybe.
Thank you so much for coming tonight. I am pleased and honored tonight that we are going to be recognizing the Pelham Memorial High School student newspaper. Pelham was honored with a silver crown at the Scholastic Press Association Awards ceremony. The silver crown is believed to be the highest rating in the 98-year history of the Pelham. So congratulations to this incredible team. During the crown ceremonies and analysis, their publications are judged on their excellence as shown by their design, photography, concept, coverage, and writing. A total of 817 publications were eligible for the judging. Part of what stood out about the Pelham was the content struck a good balance of stories that are very school-specific, as well as stories that focus on the country and world events. The staff consistently creates strong alumni coverage in particular, and was noted as having strong writing that demonstrates good reporting and sources. So just incredibly honored to have this publication. I have to admit, my husband is eager to read it when I bring it home, even though he doesn't know most of the students who are featured in it. But the quality of the work is just that noticeably good. So tonight we're very honored to have Mr. Schleifer, our advisor for the Pelham here. Leadership, under his guidance, he really has grown this paper into an incredible publication. Also tonight, and who we're excited to hear from, are the editors-in-chief, Ellie O'Sullivan. Okay, thank you. Kate Loughran. And Caroline Mikaloff. So congratulations to the entire staff and to the leadership. I'm going to turn the microphone over to you ladies to share a little bit about your experience with the Pelham and help us to understand more about why it's such an amazing publication.
Thank you. So yes, these awards honored our paper last year, and last year during the pandemic, we unfortunately were not able to have our print publication, but we were able to publish online. So a big part of our paper last year was publishing online, which is different from our usual print journalism class. But it was great to see the class and our club come together to be able to do that. And then at the end of the year, we were able to print a print issue that really, it was basically about the whole year. So it was great to see that. So despite the pandemic, we were able to work through that and work on our digital skills as well.
Yeah, last year was very different for journalism, and it's kind of strange that everything that we're being recognized for this year was for an issue, sorry, it was for stories that we made when when everything about journalism changed before our eyes. We basically learned how to make a website and work on it, and I myself had to learn certain aspects of web design, which was interesting for every party involved. It shows great resilience and integrity for the Pell-Mell team to be able to navigate each new change and take it head on, and it's especially affirming that, despite all of the roadblocks and setbacks along the way, the Quill and Scroll Honor Society and the Columbia Press Association still awarded us with these achievements. As the editor-in-chief for both last year and this year, I have never been more happy to see a return to print, and my excitement demonstrated especially in the first issue we published when we returned to in-person learning this year. Mr. Schleifer has a few copies of them. I believe that this centennial issue stands for everything we wish to achieve as a paper. It educates the reader while also applying our own community's accomplishments. I've never been prouder to be a journalist, and there is no publication that's as amazing to write for as the Pell-Mell. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for having us today, and thank you for your recognition. I just want to thank Mr. Schleifer for all the hard work and motivation he provides us with, and our hardworking and passionate staff. I feel so lucky to be an editor-in-chief and a leader to our other reporters, and I've just made some great friends, and yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
Oh, please. Yeah.
Something to read about Jim's talking.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
This is a good, souvenir artist and stuff.
Thank you. Was this from the fall?
Thank
right?
you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Awesome.
So as I said at one of our last meetings, March was a really exciting month for our high school students, and last month we got to celebrate Coach Witz and the boys hockey team. It was really special to have Mr. Schleifer and these students here to honor the Pell-Mell. So thank you for coming. Start out on a happy, exciting note. So we have a few more things on the agenda. Tonight, the board will adopt the 2022-23 school budget, which will be voted on by the community on Tuesday, May 17th. At our meeting just before the school vacation, the board revised the budget and reduced the tax increase from what was proposed earlier in budget planning as a year-to-year 2.62% tax increase to 1.95%. And added an additional $430,000 from debt service to the originally proposed $1.525 million for a total use of $1.955 million from the debt service fund for next year's budget. Additionally, we also added a contingency position for an interventionist, and we allocated an additional $120,000 from prior year's surpluses to account for this position. Each year, we work collaboratively with the administration to land on a financial outcome which is favorable for our taxpayers. I'm proud of our board for our thoughtful and transparent budget discussions over the past 2 months. It's been nearly 2 months to date since we started talking about the budget. I'm also thankful to Dr. Champ, our administrators, and Mr. Ricky and his team for crafting an ambitious budget which supports our students' emotional and academic needs as they emerge from one of the most challenging times in our lives. While on the path towards a long overdue proper restoration of foundation aid, we are positioned to continue to support the needs of our students and our district in a once-in-a-lifetime kind of way with the addition of teachers, social-emotional supports, programming, and interventionists, turning the state aid directly back to our students. Our current and past strategic plans have been dynamic, and as a result, over the last decade, there have been significant increases to our district's offerings and staff. The proposed budget thoughtfully implements important footing so that our district and our students are best supported and positioned to meet the current and future challenges of the 21st century. When I think of support for our district, the Pelham Education Foundation quickly comes to mind. So many of the donations that we approve at our meetings come in the form of really extremely generous grants from the PEF. Many of you guys probably saw in the mail that the Pelham Education Foundation has launched its annual Blue Ribbon fundraiser to celebrate their 26th year of partnership with our schools and their deep commitment to enhancing public education in our community. Please keep this important foundation in mind and consider donating on their website, www.pelhameducationfoundation.net, before the official Blue Ribbon Day, which is May 7th. It's because of our community's extremely generous, ongoing generosity that so many PEF grants are written. And lastly, I'll quickly wrap up by touching on one item I mentioned in my Community Outreach Committee report last time we met. In an effort to begin a year-long campaign to open connections and to encourage constructive engagement between the district and parents, we are rolling out a spring listening tour called Let's Talk, out from behind the screens. Over the next few weeks, board members and administrators will visit each of the elementary schools for the chance to gather feedback from parents. Each session is open to any parent in the community, and it's not limited to elementary parents. So jump in for whichever date works best for you. The dates are as followed, and they are also published on our district-wide calendar and will be sent in a district-wide email. So the first session is on April 25th at 8:30 on the Prospect Blacktop with the auditorium if it rains. The next one is April 28th at 8:30 at the Siwanoy Outdoor Classroom, and we will use the library if it rains. May 2nd, if you want to see Hutchinson and you haven't already seen it, 3:30 will be in the Hutchinson Atrium. And finally, on May 3rd, we'll round this out at 8:30 in the Colonial New Outdoor Classroom, and we'll use the library if it rains. So I hope you'll come out and join us. So next, we move on to Section 3, which is an approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the business meeting of April 6, 2022?
So moved.
Thank you. Leah, do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next, our administrative and committee reports. This will be a little briefer because we only have one assistant superintendent, unfortunately, tonight, but probably the most important assistant superintendent for a meeting like this one. I'll turn things over to Dr. Champ.
Yes, thank you, Jessica. And actually, I've got a very short report tonight because we actually were together 4 short school days ago.
I was going to say, because we just met.
We just met. But I will add just a couple things to the recognitions tonight. It just continues to amaze me how in the hardest of years, we're seeing the most outstanding achievements of our students in like the history of various programs. So I just think that's incredibly worthy of note. We did have recently Ivy League notification day. Just wanted to make sure that everybody knew. We had students, and actually the board will get a report on the full college acceptances at the end of the school year. Mr. Farrell puts together a report to share with the board, so you can have a full picture of that. But as of today, we've had acceptances at 122 colleges, and we have 5 of the Ivies. We have students accepted at Harvard, Columbia, Cornell, Dartmouth, and UPenn.
And that's with like a 3% acceptance rate this year.
Right, so I just wanted to make sure, we're keeping the names private, but I wanted to make sure that the board was aware of that, because again, even in difficult times, our students are achieving at incredibly high levels. So we'll look forward to that year-end report. And so that was one item I wanted to share. And I guess really the last thing really is just on the budget, and I know this may feel a little repetitive, and maybe it'll tee off a little earlier. I just wanted to say, really for myself, I'm excited to put this budget forward, and I think it is, as always, where we start and where we finish. It's always a better product at the finish because of the discussion and the shared input from the board. So, I'm excited with this budget that due to finally getting some additional foundation aid, which we advocated for years, we're able to do some things that we haven't been able to do in the past. And finally right-size some of our programs to better meet our program and needs for our students. We're in this budget able to, bless you, support students academically and socially and emotionally, which coming through the last 2 years is more critical than ever before. And I'm proud of the pieces that we have built into this budget to do that, and also that it continues to build in our strategic plan. Just for highlights, if you think just on the academic side in this budget, we have 2 full-time specific permanent elementary intervention teachers, plus the addition of a contingency for a third if the data shows that need. We've got an additional math interventionist for the middle school, an additional special education teacher for the middle school, additional high school world language teacher, 0.8, and a 0.2 art teacher to meet student course requests at the high school. We're adding a technology teacher at the high school to expand elective offerings in STEAM and continue to deepen the richness of our programs. We're adding a staff developer to support our teachers as they continue to roll out Teachers College Readers and Writers Workshop. We're going to be phasing innovative flexible furnishing into all kindergarten classrooms, as you said, taking that seed that the PEF gave us, the biggest, the largest major grant that they had ever awarded, and now systemically starting to phase that in so that all of our students at the elementary will be able to experience that over the next few years, and expanding Chromebooks all the way down through kindergarten so that if we need them, we have them without hesitation. All those pieces are direct to students, direct to support their academic wellness. On the mental health and wellness side, we're proposed adding a counselor to the elementary school to continue with our Fly 5 social emotional curriculum, adding 2 clinicians at the secondary campus, one through federal funds, one through the general fund, to continue to support our students' mental health and wellness, hiring a health services coordinator, which will provide better oversight of health services, which we have seen how critical those are in these last 2 years. Also with that, it frees up staff to provide more support for counseling for our high school students. Adding a bowling team, which seems like a little thing, but is huge when providing pro-social activities for our kids, things they can connect with and do for enjoyment. And for team building and for peer relationships, and adding a coordinator for diversity, equity, and inclusion that can serve as a liaison for our students and parents on issues of equity, diversity, inclusion, and help us to train our staff and to move forward in ways that are going to create better belonging for everyone in the district. And finally, the third prong of how I see this budget is that it's about organizational sustainability. Putting structures in place that are going to strengthen the programs that we want to continue to deliver into the future. So the administrative restructuring to provide better oversight and a better top-level structure to support, as you said, the program growth that we've seen over 2 strategic plans. Adding a network specialist just to help with infrastructure support, which is critical. Restoring a custodial position at Hutchinson. These are the real day-to-day needs of our buildings and our schools that are going to help them function going forward. Continuing, of course, to provide professional development for our teachers, for our clinicians, and our faculty, and all the various programs to support social emotional wellness, from DBT to responsive classroom to MTSS. And then, of course, continuing to provide learning resources. So I'm proud of this budget. I think it really focuses on giving our children what they need in the moment, especially in this moment after 2 years of COVID, but also equips them for the future. And that's, I think, what, to me, I feel like it's a balance of the immediate, the short term, but with a long-term vision as well. So I just wanted to share that as kind of one big last overview of the highlights. I know the board will be, talking about the budget before you vote on it tonight. So I just wanted to share that. And I've been through many years in prior districts, especially of having to cut and having to find more efficient ways to do the work. The group has grown, and we've had to do it with less and less. This is just a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to really invest going forward. So that ends my report tonight. I will let you all
Thank you.
take it from here as we move into the later sections. And I do apologize, Dr. Garcia and Ms. Matthews are not able to be with us tonight due to personal reasons. I do know that Dr. Garcia was going to mention, just remind folks, that the math state assessments will be happening next week, grades 3 through 8. So that's coming up. Reminder for children to have good breakfast, come ready, rested, do a good job, take their time, and really just show the best that they can through that. And I'm not sure what else you had planned for the report. So I'll end there, and I think
I don't believe we also have any committee reports, right? Because as you said, we met like 4 days,
So
4 school days ago.
Yeah.
Am I missing something, though?
Nope.
I don't want to assume wrong. So we'll cut right to 4.5, which is Assistant Superintendent's Update on Finance and Facilities. Mr. Ricky, the man of the hour.
No pressure.
Continue to heat up that seat.
Thank you and good evening. It's good to be the assistant superintendent here this evening.
With a
The-
capital T.
Like going to the Ohio State. So this evening, obviously, we have the adoption of the proposed budget. As I've shared with the board, and I know has been shared earlier in this meeting, are the changes that were discussed at the prior board meeting, taking into account the additional state aid and those other modifications that have been made and shared with the board. In addition to that, we're asking, in addition to the board adopting the preliminary budget, which then becomes the proposed budget for the board, we'll ask the board to approve the property tax report card. And this is a regulatory document, which is approved every year. We have to report it to New York State once approved by the board. It, as you can see when you look at it, it has the information on the 22-23 budget as well as our schedule of reserves. So again, it's a very informative document. We're also required to send it to the newspapers. Whether they choose to print it or not is up to the newspapers, but it's a legal requirement that we do that. And it'll also be found on our district website. So there'll be plenty of information to see that property tax report card. On this evening's budget, or in this evening's meeting, we have some other business items. Our renewal of our operations and maintenance bids. So this evening, it's just the renewals. We have some other bids which have gone out, and we expect to have them back for the meeting of May the 4th. Also asking the board, and I know this was discussed at some length at our meeting, last meeting, was the Office of State Comptroller's Information Technology Audit. So we're asking the board to acknowledge receipt of that report, as well as the corrective action plan to that report. And those were items which Mr. Mazzaro spoke of that were reviewed by the audit committee. As we look at our capital bond work, it's been 4 school days, but it's been a lot more work days. And if you've been by, again, if you've been by the corner of Lincoln and 3rd, it's wow every time you walk or drive by that corner. It's really something else.
It's like
where they're
unrecognizable.
completely unrecognizable. And this morning, ironically enough, there was a big pool of water right in the corner of that property, which is where the cistern will eventually sit. So it was just with the rain last night, it had all pooled there. But certainly quite a bit of progress. We had a kickoff meeting with our site work contractor today as well to make sure we get that work moving forward. Moving over to Prospect Hill, I'll kind of work on the ends of town. Prospect Hill, the field, is moving along nicely. We expect that sod to be going in shortly, which is terrific. And once that's in, we'll have that orange snow fencing will remain in place for some time to make sure the field has an opportunity to knit. But with that irrigation, it should really, we're really looking forward to it. As you can see, it looks great. It's got the new clay on the field for the baseball fields. It's really going to be a nice field for everyone to use. And then the additions moving forward, and I know they're ready to move forward on the slate roof, the colors, and that selection has been reviewed by the board with comments that have been shared to the construction manager and the contractor for installation. So it's going to be really exciting to see that happen too. At PMHS here, the precast deliveries, 90% of the precast deliveries for the front of the building have been delivered. We expect the other 10% to come tomorrow. So again, great news. We can kind of put it back together again, and we can get rid of that terrible scaffolding and wind screening, which they say they've resecured, but every time I look at it, it seems to be flopping. It's completely frustrating. But we want to get that all out there and everything put back together with those new windows. So very exciting. Unfortunately, as you know, we took a little bit more vandalism at Julianne's Playground over the weekend, so we're working with we've called in our contractor, our vendor, to see what we can do about replacing those pieces again. It's unfortunate, obviously, but we're going to put them all back into workable condition. We just have to work with our vendor to make sure they're okay. What else do we have? Hot lunch started this week at the elementary schools. So we haven't done hot lunch in about 2 years, and we're a little rusty. And lunch is probably accelerated. And we used to begin about 11:45, 12 o'clock at the elementary schools. Now it starts about an hour earlier with the new schedule. So there's a little bit of a compressed timeline for preparing those meals because they're all prepared at the high school, getting them out and getting them distributed. So we're working through those things. We're working with our vendor. We're thinking about different ideas, perhaps doing ordering the night before so that people can, usually what happens is the order comes in the morning. You get everything by 9 o'clock. They got to make everything between 9 and 10 o'clock, and by 10 o'clock, you have to start moving things out the door. If they have another hour in the morning to start preparing those meals, we can kind of cheat ourselves another hour on the opening end. So we're working with food services, and we're just excited that the kids are excited about this, and the orders are pretty good. So it's a nice new option for the kids, and again, another sign that we're moving forward back to a more regular routine that we've had, which is really great to have. And then lastly, certainly,
The kids were I know my children were very grateful to have their hamburger today.
Great.
And I think one managed to get a chicken finger yesterday.
That's
so
right.
They were very grateful.
Chicken finger.
Just one.
there's chicken fingers tomorrow, and we're ordering more ketchup. So the feedback
Oh,
is
I heard there
getting
was
back.
only mustard.
Yeah,
And
well-
kids don't like mustard. Grown-ups like mustard.
The feedback has been heard, and it's been shared. So it's going to be
big-
ketchup everywhere.
The big
Ketchup
test
from
is
home.
going to be Friday. It's going to be
Pizza day.
Whitson's Pizza.
Whitson's
Let me
Pizza
be
Day.
clear, it is not Pelham Pizza.
Yeah.
It is Whitson's Pizza for all the kids on Friday, so
Right.
we have a bet as to whether that's actually going to
We know they're going
Be
to be busy.
appealing or not?
go smoothly.
Oh, God.
Right.
Is
Be
that like
warm.
Pepe's Pizza out of New Haven? Kind of similar thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just like Pepe's,
But you know
exactly.
what?
Just like Pepe's, okay.
It's bringing
wanna get
Pizza
that
Friday
underlined
back,
chicken
which I'm
fried
sure is.
It's the
There's no
theme,
coal-fired
You and
pizza
me
here.
both.
The tradition of it.
Yes, so.
But again, again, like I said, I think it's a real, thank you for the feedback too. And we are hearing that the children are excited about it. It's good. And again, it's been some time for our students. So it's nice that they have this.
It's been a lot of sun butter.
A lot of sun butter and jelly, yes, exactly.
And the hot meal's free as well. this
Yes,
year.
yes. So this year, the breakfast and the lunches are all free. So it's
What's going on at the middle school and high school with hot lunch? Or the whole cafeteria setup, is that?
Thank you. So the cafeteria setup has returned to the prior setup. We're using our regular cafeteria tables. The Blue Gym, which was set up as an auxiliary cafeteria with card tables, has been broken down. That's been returned to use for physical education classes. And I think my time working through, the students have adjusted to it very well with their use of the spaces. We've got those. A few years back, we purchased new tables for the cafeteria. We increased our seating capacity a little bit, and I think it even made it a bit more organized, too. So it's a nice environment there, and I think we're doing all right there.
Jim, how is Whitson's staffed up now? I know there was a little bit of a issue with that.
They are struggling with some staffing, and they're filled a position today. They're filling a position tomorrow. So I think at that point, they're all set for it now. For September, they're going to have to hire more people, and they expect to. But right now, they're having there's challenges in hiring right now, just because if you have somebody, they're going to come in April, May, 6
Right.
weeks maybe, and then they're not going to be working any longer. So they've interviewed dozens of people. I think they want to get the right folks there, and right now, I think they feel that they're at that right position, and with the two people that they've recently, the one they brought on today and one they're expecting to bring on tomorrow, I believe.
Thank you.
I will say that it is certainly adding to the challenge at the elementaries because they don't have serving staff to send to the buildings. So you've got more students accessing the school lunches because they're free. Now they're excited about hot lunch, so again, the volume is increased significantly, and Whitson's isn't able to send a service staff. So that's a lot of the, in addition to the timing issues, that's another one of the issues that we're working through with the principals, so.
Fortunately, I mean, I have to say, our building leaders are very creative.
Very talented,
And
yes.
they jump right in when they need to. And we also have the advantage of having our lunch monitors there a little bit before that lunch period, so they can kind of jump in and help with that early work that's needed. So we're very fortunate, and they're willing to do that. And we can hold them a little bit earlier and a little bit later to get what we need. And then lastly, just again, gratitude to the board, to the community, to my colleagues, and certainly the folks in the business office as we work through this budget process. This is phase one. Phase two is obviously where we'll be speaking to the community, sharing this information. This proposed budget, once approved by the board, will be updated on the district's website, and it will be available in the district offices as well as district schools. So we want to make it available to folks.
Jim, you mentioned all these, the capital projects, and the other day, it occurred to me that how much scaffolding has been up in the last, like, decade in our town, and how much of it is coming down in the next, like, has come down or will continue to come down. And then the bridges becoming, being completed, like, there's been so much construction, and when you step back from it all, it's gonna be pretty remarkable,
Thank you.
all during a pandemic as
During the
well,
pandemic,
so.
very exciting, and at the same time, even at Glover Field, yesterday, that rain was something else last night. We were very fortunate. We kind of had a pine cone line up on Ritchie Bell Field where the river came up on Ritchie Bell, but the other field held up nicely. We've got, again, those backflow preventers that were installed, and knock wood, we're in the right direction. And a side benefit that we've seen is we have a lot more home games because a lot of other communities' fields are unplayable. So, of course, the finance guy and myself are saying, great, we're saving some money on busing.
And the use of that complex is just, I'm at
Shrewd
Glover like,
operator.
I don't know, 8 times a day, it feels like, between drop-offs and pickups for
Oh,
all
it's
the kids.
wonderful.
I love not having to go very far. I love that the traffic flows better, I guess until Memorial Field opens, and then will be
It
another thing.
is, and what I noticed too, just the other day, quite honestly, is the students are really using that walking path.
Yeah.
And they're staying off the road, and that's safer for everybody, so.
Nobody's walking on that road, but just the
Yeah.
use of that space is so efficient. It's incredible.
Yeah,
Like,
the
of
batting
all
cages for
ages, like,
everybody, it's really
crazy.
terrific.
It's really
So,
great. Cool. Okay. So I just somehow got out of this. Going back into the agenda. Excuse me for a second. Okay, so this. Yes, it's just taking a minute to load. This brings us to section 5, which is communications from the public about items related to the agenda. Is there anybody here tonight who wanted to speak on our agenda? Natalie, be sure to include your name and your mailing address, as I know you know.
Hello, my name is Natalie Morero. I'm at 4466 Boston Post Road. So first, thank you for the hot lunch. My child just loved the chicken fingers. They're the best chicken fingers he's ever had, according to him, so. thank you. And the burger was a big hit today. He's got the menu and he's planning to go through the whole thing. So thank you. I'm here to speak about the budget again. I really thank you for spending the last 2 months discussing the budget. I do hope you still reconsider adopting it today and still work towards, shaving some things off. I know there's been a lot of concessions and a lot of back and forth, but I still feel like we have a lot of reserves that we could hopefully utilize to give back more services to the children. Last week, Mr. Ian spoke about hopefully doing some services, like maybe tutoring to the kids that are struggling, instead of the parents taking money and paying for a lot of tutoring, which is already going on in town. Perhaps the board could, have, or the school district could have, fund some type of plan to have some type of these services being given to those children who are struggling, who may need more services, not just inside of the school, but maybe after school. So I hope that is something that this board will take into consideration. And again, I hope you rethink the budget and keep working on it for hopefully another few weeks. I'm sorry to make your work longer, but I do think that there is still more to be done. Thank you.
Just one factual thing to add, and Mr. Ricky, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong. The reason why we have this meeting today and the reason why we adopt it is because it has to be adopted a certain number of days before it gets voted on May 17th. So a decision will have to be made one way or another for that reason. Is that New York state law?
Yes, and actually, the clerk of the board.
Sorry, I might be
Pauline
looking to the
Davies.
wrong resource, but I just wanted to get that fact right.
But she's nodding in an affirmative way. Yes.
We were supposed to meet tomorrow. We moved it to today because there is a certain number of calendar days you have to meet, so. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, so next brings us to our financial reports and motions. 6.1 is motion to adopt the 2022-23 school year budget. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, John and Vinnie. Okay, so typically we give the board the opportunity to share thought before we take a vote on this. I thought I'd kick it to Ian and Michael, since you're newest to this process, I don't know if you've loved this the last 2 months as much as we do. I hope we've had a lot of great dialogue. So I just wanted to give no particular order, and we'll make sure everybody has the opportunity to speak. So.
Sure. I'll share my thoughts about the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's been an interesting process, and I think we are in a better place than where we started. I have to say, I do have some reservations, and I think everything is a compromise. I go back to think about our board goals and also my goals as a board member. Of course, the thing that got me involved was COVID, getting our kids back in school safely. And I think we've done a good job of that. And I think we've heard the excitement tonight of getting closer to normal, and we've done it safely. And I thank our district administrators and our teachers and staff for everything they've done with that. And I think it does build a level of trust and respect. When I ran for the board, I talked about kindness and respect as being central to educational achievement. So I do want to make sure that I put forward the respect towards our school administrators and your recommendations. I've spoken at length about interventionists, and I'm concerned about the ongoing effects of COVID for students. And I want to make sure that they get the services that they need. It's very important to me to listen to parents, and listening to Ms. Marrero and others who are also concerned about their students. I think I'm glad that there is the contingency position to potentially add another interventionist, and I think I'm going to view it as unfinished business. It's something that we have to keep an eye on going forward. I'm very glad that we've talked about the data dashboard, because I think one reservation I have is that we don't necessarily have all the data that would help us make some of these decisions. So I think that's something that we're making progress on and moving forward on. I know some people are concerned about adding more administrative positions, and I think having more data would help us know if that's needed or not. But I'm going to view that as unfinished business, and I want to make sure that it is an investment and it has a payoff in terms of academic achievement for our students. And I'm very glad, sports and extracurriculars are important to me, and I love the idea of having bowling and something that is very inclusive, and anybody who wants to can participate in that. And I really, advocating for students with special needs is important to me, and I like the direction that we're going in with our services for students in special education. So I'm taking a leap of faith, putting respect in our school leaders, and I'm going to support the budget, but I do see some areas of unfinished business, and we'll make sure that, I definitely want to make sure that the money is used and invested, and we see the payoff in terms of academic achievement for our students.
Thank you for your thoughtful comments.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you for that as well. I do appreciate that, and I love the way that you phrase that as unfinished business, because I think that's something that we together going forward.
Like the hockey team. Like the
I've
hockey
heard that
team.
somewhere else before.
You know what's going to happen. We're going to win the state championship next year.
But no, I think that's very fair, and I think this can be it's our shared responsibility to keep those conversations going forward. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yep. I echo a lot of Michael's comments. Having done budgets before, it is not easy. There are lots of competing interests to manage, and I'm very happy that we were able to get to a reduction of the tax increase, obviously the teachers' salaries, a number of the interventionists. So I think all that is actually very good. As I mentioned at the last meeting, the area that I still am concerned about, and based on the evidence I've seen, the academic restructuring, I'm not against it in principle, because there are certainly other districts that have a lead over academics and a lead over talent. But given that we're coming out of 3 years of probably the greatest academic disruption that any of us have ever seen. You know, I just want almost every dollar to be as focused on direct service to kids as possible. And, you know, so I am very excited that there's a performance dashboard, a board-level performance dashboard, because it certainly seems that there's a lot of data within the school system, but as you've said, Dr. Champ, putting all that information together in some coherent fashion where we could look at, you know, Campus A in 3rd grade in science versus Campus B, that's something I think is really crucial for our ability to effectively make these kinds of decisions. So I would much rather make that kind of cabinet-level addition position a year from now, once we have a lot more information of like, that's the right lever to pull. And when I look at the trade-offs, I'm seeing districts across the country who are doing, you know, sometimes it's called high-impact tutoring, sometimes it's called high-dosage tutoring, where you're now able to tap into amazing teachers, college students, AmeriCorps, kids from all around the country who are getting trained and volunteering to do either one-on-one tutoring or small group tutoring, and the districts are paying for it. And so it becomes almost an equity issue because there are a lot of kids getting additional supports at home, but there are a lot of kids who aren't. And, you know, so I'd love to see if we had a performance dashboard, you know, for the 40% of kids who are not on track to, you know, be reading at grade level, whatever the number is, that we would proactively say that you now have this additional service that could happen out of school time. So it could be, basically tutoring after hours or during the summer. There's just amazing things going on in terms of tapping into talent that I think just really hasn't existed before. And a lot of that's been created sort of post, you know, as we've emerged out of COVID, just the recognition that kids need support in lots of different ways. And it just feels that we have an opportunity to tap into those kinds of interventions, which I think would be incredibly valuable for our kids now. So that, for those reasons, again, I'm overall supportive of the budget, but I can't bring myself to a yes, because I think an academic restructuring cabinet level position, that's a huge permanent decision that I feel we need a lot more data to make that final decision. And it's not a personal thing. I had an impression from the last meeting. This is not personal. I think it should be a really heavily evidence-based decision. And just based on what I've seen, that doesn't seem to be the right lever to pull, especially when I look at the opportunity cost of what some of the other things we could be investing in that are directly related to student support and achievement.
Fair enough, and I appreciate your comments as well. I know there's more than one way to skin a cat, as they say, and I think we're probably coming at some of those decisions from 2 different perspectives with the same goal in mind, though. So one thing I think that's important as well to keep in mind is there's often money within the budget to look at creative opportunities that come up throughout the year. So those doors aren't always shut at this point in time.
Well, yeah, if there's an opportunity, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
I
think certainly since this, you know, this idea just came forward, I think there's a lot more research that we'd have to do and see where is the need, what is the need, how are the mechanics of this worked out, what is the role, what is the place. So I think there's a lot more research to do on our part.
Yeah, I'm just looking, literally, I just got an email earlier today, if I can find it. There's this group of teachers all over the country who've come together to create this tutoring group, and they just seem amazing. I'll send it to you. Yeah. But it's just another one of these resources that's emerged that I think we could take huge advantage of.
Yeah, so we can definitely do some looking into that. But you know, I think I think as you said before, we do have a lot of data available, and I think that gives us a level of comfort that we're doing a lot to try to capture children, especially through the MTSS process. I know we keep going back to that and going back to that, but that's where we're using words are escaping me this time of night. But that collection of data, that's where we're really being able to use that at the classroom level, individual child level.
Yep.
So I think we're doing, our staff has done an amazing job of growing in that this year in particular. So I do want to give them a lot of credit for the work they've done there. And really think that we've captured more children's needs early than we've ever been able to do before. And I think you may remember the principal saying that I think we've entered and exited more students from MTSS this year than we've ever done in the past, which I think is just kudos to them. But certainly always looking for new resources. So the door's never closed.
So I had a couple little comments to make as well. First, I wanted to thank you again, Jim and Jackie, for your open door during this process. The budget, as everyone knows, is not something that comes naturally to me. And I found during the 3 years that I'm on the board, that I've been on the board, each year I understand it a little bit better. It's a funny animal. But one of the things I have learned is something that you were just speaking about, Cheryl, is that there's a lot of flexibility in the budget once we start the school year, that we have an incredibly talented staff, and when they have boots on the ground and they see student need, they are very responsive to that, and that there is always some room in the budget to make sure the students are getting what it is that they need. So that kind of flexibility is already built into our budget. The other thing that I wanted to say is a thank you to the community, that I think I'm proud of us as a board this year. We've had a lot of really good conversations about the budget, and I think the constructive input from the community has made some of those conversations even better, and it's pushed us to think about some things in a different way than we might have ordinarily, so I'm appreciative of our community support. That's it.
Thank you. Others? Vinny?
Oh, I guess
Finish
we'll
off
go.
the pink section
All
over
right,
here.
we'll go down the line.
I didn't get the memo.
I think a lot of the points that you just mentioned right there, Leah, were points that I had written down as well, the flexibility within the budget. But the key is to pass the budget. We need to pass the budget, and then once it is passed, then we can look back, and to the phrase that my friend just used here, unfinished business, it is. It's a work in process. It's an unfinished business. No door is closed. We have work to do. We'll continue to do that work for the betterment of our children from kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade. Where no one has a crystal ball, no one has the right answers to everything, but we are trying our best as a board. And I think this year, out of any of the 4 years that I've been through this process, it's been the best. Jim, you, Jackie, your whole business office, you guys were top-notch. You're always top-notch, but this year there was just something extra special in it. And you do deserve, a big handshake on that one. It's not an easy process. It's a 24/7 for you guys during this time, and we greatly appreciate it. You know, you're skilled at it. You know what you're doing. You make it easier for us. And you're right. Some of the conversations we had, very spirited, but good, bad. The only bad answer is, or the only bad question is the one that's not asked. So that being said, ask the question. If you don't know, especially for Ian and Michael, who are new to the board, we're still learning. After 4 years, I'm still learning about certain things on it. But the line by line and our ability to maneuver and change, midstream, make us a special group. So thank you all for that. And I think this budget is going to be great for our school. And once it passes, we'll be able to do the things that may be lacking today, but won't be lacking a year from now.
Hi, do you want to go? Sorry,
Sure.
you're leaning forward, go ahead.
No,
You can, no, by all means.
I was going to leave the last to you guys.
That's
Okay.
totally fine.
This will be my 13th and last budget. Thank God. Yeah, it's such an auspicious number. But anyway, I have to say that from the beginning to now, the change in the discussion around the budget has been profound. And it's been profound for a couple of reasons. One is, at the beginning, there was no such thing as a tax cap. So every budget was fought over tooth and nail. And Those were the days of 6, 7% budget increases, year-to-year budget increases, pretty regularly. And it wasn't a sure thing. So a budget may not pass in a given year. And that was always very disheartening. But the other big change I've noticed is that, well, so to finish that thought, when the governor passed the 2% tax cap, that totally transformed the landscape because everybody felt comfortable that, you know, the genie was back in the bag and the 2% would cause an automatic capping of runaway expenses. And I think to some extent that worked. But it also forced school districts to put costs in places where they hadn't traditionally put costs. And it became not such a transparent process. I think that's changing. It's very transparent now. Everybody knows where every dime is. And we talked endlessly about reserves, what they were for. When we first started putting reserves together, nobody wanted to talk about it. Yet, what, you have money in the bank? How dare you have money in the bank? But now it's a legitimate discussion, and it brings it all out to light. So I think those are very positive changes. As for this particular budget, you know, we always start out trying to tax as much as we can, and up to the cap. But there's a problem with that, and I think we were very clear this year. We were sitting, you know, we're flush. We were flush because the state gave us a bunch of money. You know, over the last 2 years, because of COVID, we got a bunch of money. So I could not see us going out with a tax rate with the 2 in front of it, and I think a number of other board members agreed. So we decided we needed to be back down. We're below the median now in Westchester County with our tax levy increase, which I think is very good. One of my mentor and long-term friend, always said every year, so I have to say it in his memory, Pelham is the highest quartile performance and the lowest quartile cost. And he's referring to cost per student. So I had to say it for Terry.
That's true.
As to academic administrative restructuring, I'm not sure how we can keep adding teachers and programs and things like that without adjusting the way it's managed. And if we don't, we're not going to be able to manage it. And, you know, to the extent that and I think it's a very thoughtful restructuring, it's consolidating tasks and making the administrators more effective at what they're doing. So to that extent, I think it's very valuable. And I think it directly impacts instruction. It's not taking away from instruction. It's improving instruction by providing extra attention to the people who are providing the instruction. So to that end, I think it's long overdue. And I'm happy to see that we're doing it this year. If we didn't do it this year, we wouldn't do it. So I'm happy that we're doing that. And I think we will be able to take advantage of what other programs come up. You know, this year it's impact tutoring, or this week it's impact tutoring. Next week it may be something different. There's always things happening. But we have to study them. We have to evaluate them. We have to see how they work for Pelham. It's, you know, it's enough to dangle something out there, but it has to be researched. So I think we have the flexibility. Vinny talked about it. So did Leah. We have the flexibility to take those things on, and we will if they make sense. We've always done it. We've never shied away from a program that would help our students, and we'll continue to do that. So I'm sorry to be so long-winded, but in any case, I'm glad we're where we're at with the budget. It's a great budget, and thanks to Jim and Cheryl and Jackie and all the other people who worked so hard on it.
I think a lot of things have already been said. So thanks again to Jim and your whole office. We've also had multiple administrators involved in this, so starting with Dr. Lauro also. So we've had Dr. Lauro and then moving on to Cheryl. So we've had a lot of voices at the table and obviously Julia and, your whole team. So I feel like not just the board voices, but I feel like the administration voices and the voices throughout the district have been heard and throughout the community as well too. So I think I've always believed that your budget should reflect your priorities and your mission, and I think that this budget does a really good balanced job of doing that. And I do think that we've had great discussion. I hear you, Ms. Marrero, that there can always be more time to discuss, but we are bound by the state limitations on how long we can do this for. So I think that we've put a really, really good amount of time into this and a really a large amount of thoughtful discussion, and I think we've gotten to a very good place. So thanks to everyone for being part of the process.
I already shared a lot of thoughts in my opening remarks, and a lot of really thoughtful comments have been shared. I just want to pick up on one comment that Michael made, which is the one word that you used, which is compromise, and that's something that resonates with me quite a bit as a board member. It's our job to voice our opinions and to be thoughtful and to open our ears to other viewpoints, because as we've, when you hear multiple viewpoints, you often come to a better outcome. It's also our job as board members to work towards consensus. For the last 5 years, there's been a lot of decisions that we've made where I haven't gotten everything that I wanted, and I still voted for it because I knew it was in the good of the consensus of the board and in the good of the district. So I'm just putting that out there because I appreciate that that's something that's risen to the top for you, that, we've all listened to one another, we've all listened to the needs of the district, and, to be unified in the way that we are and to have all these thoughtful perspectives, I think, means a lot to me as the president of this board, because this now becomes the board's budget when we present it to the community, and then it's up to the community to vote on it. But we have to feel good about the work that we've done for the last 2 months. We've taken it now from the superintendent, and after tonight, it'll be ours that we're putting before the community. So I appreciate all the thoughtfulness and the compromises that have gone into this process from everybody. So without further ado, we already took the motion, so I guess I will take the vote. Did I get that right, Pauline? It was like a long time ago. So, okay. So all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
No. Just no.
Okay. You have that, Pauline? Okay. 6.2 is a motion to approve the 2022-2023 property tax report card. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you, Vinnie and Sue. I had one question before I kick it to the board. You had mentioned, Mr. Ricky, that this will be on the website. Can you just refer, I know it's posted for the public. Can you tell me where it gets posted
So
on the website?
we have
Or should I ask Alex?
Alex is going to put it up on the website. So.
Alex, where are you going to put it up on the website? He's like, do I really have to come to the microphone? But I mean, it has a lot of information in it. I know we send it to the state. I know you put it in newspapers, but to say, I just want everybody to know where they can find it.
Absolutely. So under the Board of Education tab on the district website, there is a link for the 2022-2023 budget, and it will be there along with all the other other budget documents as soon as we can get them posted. It might be tomorrow, it may be Thursday, but we'll get it up there.
Thank you.
Very shortly.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Now, Jim, you have 24 hours to get that up?
Yes, we're not gonna take the whole 24 hours, though. And again, as you look at this, again, as you review, these are estimated June 30th, 2022 balances for the fund balances. So it's, again, it's based on a most recent forecast. They're estimates. Final numbers are always subject to board input, board review, and board approval.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next, I'd like to consent 6.3 to 6.7. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. I had two in this corner, Sue,
take the second.
Sue and, and Ian. Okay, so we already touched on many of these in Mr. Ricky's report. I just wanted to highlight also that we're adopting a resolution to cast a vote for both these trustees. There's 3 positions. and it's accepting the treasurer's report ending in March, and the maintenance bids that Mr. Ricky had mentioned. Did I miss anything? Oh, and the corrective action plan.
Yes. And again, that'll end up on the district website, and it's reported to this Office of the State Comptroller.
And also the BOCES, we have to approve the estimated administrative budget for the Southern Westchester BOCES for
As a
their
BOCES
education, as a member of this.
Yes.
We do that each year. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Lastly, in this section, 6.8 is a motion to accept a donation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Leah. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Michael. I think we've heard from everybody tonight. What a team. Okay, so this is a donation of a French horn to support the music program at Prospect Hill Elementary School, and that gratitude be bestowed upon its donor, the Roman family. Very kind. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Section 7 is a motion to, is superintendent's personnel recommendations. 7.1 is a motion to approve Schedule A instructional. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a teacher retiring.
Yes, always bittersweet. Gail Geller from Prospect Hill will be retiring at the end of this school year, so.
It's 1989,
Yeah.
it says.
Yep.
My
How
kids
long?
had her.
How long?
Since
Since
1989.
1989.
Wow.
She's been a fixture at Prospect Hill for many, many years.
She's a
and
new
I want to
teacher when my
thank
son
her
had
for her service.
Did your children
kids
have
her?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, and
Yeah.
yours, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, so she'll be very much missed. She's been a fixture there and is,
The teacher everybody wanted to have.
So when we talk about retirements being bittersweet, right? Happy
Very
for
much
them,
so.
sad for us.
yes, yes. So, but congratulations to Gail, and she will be very much missed.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to honoring her and the other retirees at our, I think it's our first June meeting of the year, I believe,
believe
is our
so.
retirement celebration.
That's when everybody gets drunk, right?
John.
Thank you, John.
Well, I just want to encourage people to come.
It's adults only.
The carrot.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next is People Personnel Services. 8.1 is a motion to approve Schedule D. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ian. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Section 9 is new business. And Section 10 is communications and comments from the public on something other than the agenda. So, Leah,
Madam President, would you entertain a motion to adjourn?
so moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Don't all fight for it now. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, good night, everybody.
Well done.
That was a quickie.
Well
Promised
done.
you.
You did promise.